Hello and welcome to another episode of the Brand Retro Podcast. I am the host, Mike Brevik, and today on the podcast we have Chris Bolton from Murmur Creative. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I've actually done several podcasts on I think the marketing industry is a tough one because just the title of marketing is so vague and there's so much that fits within it. And I think the broad understanding of what marketing is or isn't is lost on most people. And it's constantly evolving, like what used to be, called advertising is now marketing. And we've kind of carried forward all the baggage and the kind of the stereotype that came with that. And I mean, let's face it, most people have, for every one great agency experience, they have 10 bad ones.
Yeah.
That's not a good ratio. So every time we go into a conversation with a potential new client or new prospect, you have to battle that, kind of battle that perception. And it's tough. And it's tough because it's not only evolving, but you're trying to maintain a sense of value and worth and qualification and all that too. Because as a marketer and a creative, you're fair game. Like people are going to criticize, give you input, they're going to kind of chew you up a little bit on everything you do. So that's why, like for us, it's really important that we're building relationships, trying to bring that standard, all those different things. But like when you have water spraying out of the bottom of your sink and the plumber's under there, you're not sticking your head under there and questioning him. You're not asking him what he's doing. You're not asking him if he's worth it. It's apples and bowling balls because it's like nobody does that to those guys.
Yeah.
And, good for the plumbers. Like you guys cracked the code. I'm happy for you. But we have not on our side and within the marketing industry because it's tough. And you had mentioned something earlier about, just the perception of clients. It's like, to me, like when Fiverr first came out, it was similar to the AI thing where it was like everything was relegated to $5.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what service you provided or what creativity or credibility you came packing. It was like, so I could get this at Fiverr for $5. And it's like, well, sort of. You could get a version of, you could get something from Fiverr for $5, but you're not going to get what I'm doing. And that was another challenge. It was another battle. But yeah, this industry's tough because there's a lot of misconception around that. And, how do we combat that? Like, I'll give you how we do it, and I'd love to hear how you guys do it, but
Yeah.
it's transparency again. Like, we try to really communicate with the client and try to help them understand why it is what it is and why it's not cookie cutter and why we went a certain way from a brand perspective, because all that inside intelligence, experience, knowledge, hopefully that helps them understand the uniqueness that we're offering and the value that comes with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been leaning more into hourly transparency with clients. I think hourly billing is horribly flawed, but like it's something that clients can understand.
Mm-hmm. It's math.
So it's math. Yeah.
We do the same because they, X amount of hours times rate equals number. Just
Yeah.
that simple equation of things helps them understand what they're getting or not getting. And it suppresses some of the questioning or the challenging of value. The only, I think it is flawed as well. The only complaint I have about it is you have to make sure that they understand the value, because they will question the rate. They will say, well, geez, I'm not paying you $160 an hour or whatever it is. And like you said, like that's what plumbers make. So,
Yeah.
and nothing against plumbers, but it's like, well, where is a safe number? What is, like if you could poll, the client pool in the United States, what is the number? Is it $10 an hour? Is it 100? Like we just, it's a challenge because you have to always, like you said, that math helps them. It helps them settle into the idea, but it doesn't necessarily prove the value. And that's the part that, that's the challenge that still exists.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like clients come to us because they see we have a ton of work on our website and they're like, oh, I want that, so they see the value. of like past work we've done, and they're
Yep.
like, I want to get there. It might be expensive. So that helps a lot. I think that but then the suspicion comes, am I getting what they got? Am I
Yeah.
working with the same person that they worked with?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. I always explain it to clients like a sports analogy, like there's a lot of players in the MLB, but the home run hitters, they're the guys making the big money, and we try to hit home runs. And that's
yeah,
what you're paying me for. You're paying me to hit home runs. You're not paying me to be a bench player or, to, come off, to be called up from the minors. Like, I'm trying to be a home run hitter in what we do. And that's why I charge what I charge. I'm not even
yeah,
saying I'm expensive. I'm just saying I'm aspiring to, just like, take the NFL, for example. There are certain people that make money in the NFL. There's a lot of people that don't make that much money. We're always trying to be the ones who are like, we want to get paid for what we do. It's not necessarily rocket science that we want that. It's just we have to prove it. And then we actually have to hit the home runs or score the touchdowns. And like you said, you got to put that work on your website that shows you're capable of it so that it justifies the rate.
yeah. I think that yeah, it can be tough in branding and design too, because
Hmm.
people they don't always know what's really good versus what's not really good.
Right.
Like sometimes, if we're doing a website project, people will be like, we really love this website, and they'll show us stuff that's horrible.
Yeah. It's so subjective because it's creative,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's where, like, again, I think it's important as marketers and as agencies, like, we have to show clients kind of what value looks like, and hopefully they get it. But if they don't, then they're probably just not a good fit, because you're always going to be challenged with, them asking that question. Because, like, I've had clients where they feel like whatever they got from Fiverr was as good or better than what we gave them. Now, is that debatable? I think so. But if that's what they think, that's what they think. And that now becomes reality. So it is what it is. But I was curious, just kind of on your thoughts with that, because 2024 it's been a weird year, obviously. We're wrapping up Q3. Q4 is always kind of bizarre anyway, because you have the holidays, and that's going
Yeah.
to take a chunk out of the productivity as well. But what's kind of your thought? What's your message to clients, to consumers, finishing out the year and going into 2025?
Well, I think that, you know, branding in all of its various forms, it touches everything, and it is everything. It
Yep.
is how, like, if you look at any huge brand out there, that, Coca-Cola, whoever, like, the reason why they are where they are is branding.
Hmm.
Like, if you want to grow your business, like, branding is how you do it. And I don't think people always understand how powerful it is. Like, if you want to increase your business by, 0.04% next year, there's a bunch of stuff you can do that have nothing to do with branding. But if
Yep.
you want to, increase your sales by 10%, 50%, 100%, it's all about branding, because that's about how people perceive you.
Yep.
It's about perception of value. So, like, if you want to grow, like, branding agencies are a very good place to start.
Yeah, and I always, when I explain these things to clients, I always try to put it in terms that, maybe kind of punches through, so it's not the marketing speak necessarily. But you hear people in the fitness industry talk about it all the time, where it doesn't matter what your workout plan is, it doesn't matter how hard you work out. It's all for naught if you don't have a strong and healthy diet to go with it. And I look at that same thing as in the marketing industry. Like, you can run all the paid ads you want, you can, you know, pump out all the product you want, you can do all these different things, but if you don't have a strong core in a brand representation and a strategy to go with it, it definitely slows down your impact, and it definitely can make or break whether or not you grow the way you want to grow. And it's consistency, and it's that's the biggest thing too. It's really about just being consistent. And when you get somebody on the hook and get them following and loving and kind of subscribing, so to speak, to your brand, you got to keep doing it now. You can't just give birth to this thing and walk away, you know? And I think it's not cheap by any means, so I don't mean to make it sound like that, but I think branding is one of the low barrier, low hanging fruit type items that most people just don't act on. They neglect it because they feel like it's not as important. And of course, I'm biased, but I feel like it's the most important. Yeah.
It's, I mean, if, like you will have CEOs will talk all day about their customers, and about like relationships with customers and stuff like that. And like that's also branding, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like, it's not just it's not a coat of paint, you
Yeah.
know, it's a lot deeper than that. And, and the companies that like soar to success in a matter of months are usually masters of branding.
Mm-hmm.
You look at like Liquid Death, like just like water, check it out.
Yeah.
Suddenly worldwide brand.
Yep.
It's like if you're smart at branding, you can rule the world. So it's very important.
Right. Well, and even, I would challenge any listener to just, most people don't realize they're victims of branding. They'll scoff off branding like it's nothing. But like you said, they're buying the Liquid Death. They're head to toe Under Armour. They're, they're humming the Gatorade theme song in their head. Like we're all falling for it on some level.
Yeah.
But I would challenge them to look around their own house and even, what brands are you attracted to? And I'm not saying the product isn't good because the product might be good too. But somewhere along the line, you subscribed or fell in love with the brand as well. And yeah, I would challenge anybody to take a look at that and just be aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm staring at my guitar over here in the corner and thinking about like how passionate people are about the brand of guitars they play.
Mm-hmm.
And, like they're a Fender guy or they're a Les Paul guy or girl. And yeah, it's just like you don't think about it, but it's integrated into everything.
Yeah, and again, there might be subtle differences in the mechanics of or the quality of. That's fine. But there is a part of it where you just bought into it. Like
Yeah.
you bought the Fender t-shirt because you're a Fender guy, and somewhere along the lines you fell in love with the brand as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about Murmur Creative and kind of, where you guys are going as a company. What's that journey look like as you guys kind of go into the latter half of the year?
Yeah, one of the things that we started out doing early because we had a really good SEO presence. My background was in SEO, and so we had a lot of inbound sales. And we sort of didn't like we had so much business coming in and then going out and just not and that was it. Like we create the brand, create a website, and then say bye.
Yep.
And that was fine as long as the front of the pipe was full. And it's not as full as it used to be. So we're like, okay, we need people on retainer. We need to be re-engaging with our clients on a more consistent basis. We need to have deeper relationships with our clients. We need to connect with them more. So we're doing a lot of that work now. And I mean, it's amazing how productive it is. It's also
Yeah.
a lot cheaper. I mean, they always say, selling to an existing client is 10 times cheaper than onboarding a new one. I think that it's really amazing how much a little bit of work with an existing client can reveal new opportunities. And also I'll say that like I think we're always kind of afraid of doing retainer work as a branding company
Mm-hmm.
because one, we were afraid that we were going to be too busy to like actually deliver and clients would just get pissed off and be like, what are you actually doing for this amount of money? Or that clients would abuse us and we'd end up doing way more work than we actually were getting paid for. What we started doing is sort of all of our retainers have a mandatory meeting every month with a Kanban board full of tasks.
Yep.
And as long as we keep the backlog full of tasks, then we can prioritize what the work we're doing every month is. And we can keep in contact with the client. They don't feel like they're getting screwed. They know what we're working on. At the end of the month, we're telling them this is all the stuff we did. This is where all your hours went. That transparency portion. And that works really well. And it actually, we're positioning ourselves in a way more as like we can augment your team You don't have
Yeah.
art directors and senior designers on your marketing team. We do. We can add those to your team. We can augment everything you do and make it better. And it's a fraction of the cost of hiring somebody.
Yep.
So I think that's, we're still doing the rebrands and, the websites and stuff like that. But I think that more and more we're going to be more of like, I think that message of like, we can augment your team with really talented people and we'll be checking in every month and doing cool stuff.
Yep. And it allows the client to really focus on what they do best and focus on what matters to them. I think that's what happens sometimes inside those companies that have internal marketing people or teams is they just get so much stuff thrown at them that a lot of things get backburnered. They're falling short on delivery on certain things and they're not able to really focus where I think a company like CyberDogs or like Murmur or somebody that can come in there and just kind of be that support mechanism, it's huge because then they can focus on driving, they can focus on pushing and, kind of growing the brand that they work for and not necessarily, how are we going to get all these tasks done that, that we're not equipped to take on, and that's typically what happens because it's, we have clients all the time that we're looking for a person that can write copy, build websites, and do social media. That's a unicorn. I hope you realize that, but
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, what do you do if you can't afford a six-person marketing team? You go to an agency.
yeah, 100%. So tell us where we can follow along and get more information about Murmur and kind of keep up with you guys.
Absolutely. Murmurcreative.com is our website. I also have another website, which is growyouragency.group, where my podcast and also there's a free Slack group for agency people, and where basically, anyone can join and ask questions about agency stuff. We've got about 1,000 people in there. So those two places are where to find me and Murmur.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you for being on the podcast. Great conversation, and I appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your year.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.